This is Howard Eisenberg, Technology Consulting Director at NCC Data. And I have with me today Mandi Jarman. She's the Director of Channel Sales at Regal IO. Hi, Mandi. Thank you very much for joining me today. Now, I've known Mandi for a while, and she's for quite a while been engaged in the customer experience side of technology and really working with companies that are, say, leading the edge when it comes to technology deployment. And a few months ago, Mandi made the jump over to Regal.io. And when she explained who Regal.io is and what her role was going to be, I was pretty excited. I thought it was really interesting technology. And the more I hear, the kind of more excited I get about it. So I wanted to, and as much as I wanted to keep this as my own little silver bullet technology that we at NCC Data would have in our back pocket, I really think it's great if we kind of spread the word of what Regal.io is and what they do out to the rest of the world. And that's why I wanted to invite Mandi on today to spread the word. So Mandi, if you could just give a brief introduction of yourself and who Regal.io is, and we can kind of jump into how things work there.
Yeah, no, Howard, thanks so much for having me today. It's been a great move. So yeah, I've been at Regal a couple months now, 3, 4 months. And my background, I've been in like the contact center, so UCaaS, CCaaS, CX space for about the last 10 years. So I've seen a lot of technologies growing and, moving from on-prem to the cloud, what we really thought of that digital transformation journey, all the way into really heavy AI focus. So making the jump to Regal, Regal is a contact center solution specifically for outbound agents or outbound teams. And I think it's a really exciting space because there's nobody else really focused right there, right now. So we know the traditional CCaaS players, we know this journey of moving on-prem to the cloud, but really nobody's sat down and said, okay, what about these teams who are dialing outbound all day long? Like who's making a product just for those teams so that us as a business can drive more revenue? So that's where Regal really comes into the picture of we're not competing for the whole contact center. We're not saying, displace these big Genesis 5.9 nice platforms that are really doing the inbound customer service job. We're really taking a look at customers who have those outbound sales teams and saying, okay, how can we peel those agents off and give them a solution that's really focused and tailored on them driving more revenue for our business?
Great. So as you said, Regal IO helps businesses with the challenge of outbound engagement. So what are those challenges? How is it different outbound from inbound?
Yeah, no, 100%. So traditionally in the contact center world, both on-prem and in the cloud, right? Everyone has really been focused on contact center technology is an inbound motion. It's fielding calls and questions for customer service and customer success, right? That's been the focus of contact center technology. Our founders at Regal actually worked for a big local home service company that I think we all might be familiar with, Angie's List. And they had this problem. They ran the contact center. They were using these big players in the space, but there was no focus on anything to do with their agents who are sitting all day making outbound dials. They went to these big, contact center solutions and said, hey, can we do something that's not a one size fits all? In the day-to-day world in a contact center today, when you have people who are making outbound calls, what they're doing is they receive a list of phone numbers and they're kind of told, hey, call these people, call them at 8, call them at noon, call them at 4, call them for the next 5 days in a row, just get them on the phone. But it's that one size fits all. That workflow is the same for every phone number. So what our founders found was that's a really inefficient way to make outbound dials, especially when you have some data behind the people you're trying to call. When you look at like an Angie's List or an insurance company, people have probably gone into their website. They've probably filled out maybe a form that, I think we're all familiar with, asking for your email and phone number at the end of it. There's some type of intent behind what these customers that you're reaching out to are doing. So just calling them all day, every day, again, extremely inefficient. It's really not getting you anywhere. That's when us as the day-to-day consumers get all these numbers that are just calling our phone that say spam likely, or it's a number that you don't know, which
Exactly.
I know I never pick up that phone call. I could get 10 in a row. I'm not answering the phone. But what would be different if in a Regal scenario, we took that interaction, that outbound dial, and made it something that was more customized to you as an individual person? So if I'm on a website looking something, filling out a form field, and then suddenly my phone rings and that brand of the website I was just on pops up, or I get a text message that's actually also from that brand that says, "Hey, Howard, saw that you were just looking at our, insurance policy and you had a couple of questions around XYZ. Would it be okay if we called you in a couple minutes to discuss more?" You're probably going to look at that and say, "Oh, yeah, I was just doing that. I did have a question. Yeah, you can give me a phone call," versus them just calling you all day long and hoping that you pick up the phone.
So, a little more deep dive. How does Regal.io help companies kind of tackle those challenges? Because, yeah, we all get those spam likely calls or those unknown callers. And, I don't ever answer them, just like you. How do we help, companies get through to true prospective customers?
Yeah, so Regal is taking a mix on the back end, right, of not just that information from the website, right, those clicks and everything that you're doing, but they're taking all the CRM information on the back end, all the typical, dispositions and codes that a normal contact center would. We're taking every piece of data that exists out there about these end user customers and giving that information right to the agent who's going to be calling them or reaching out via maybe a text or an email. You're arming them with the success to say, "Hey, when you reach out to Howard or when you reach out to Mandi, here's the background on what they were already doing. So make this a personalized outreach." And they're going to be more apt to either get on the phone with you, take a meeting. We also find that the sales convert a lot faster when they're more detailed like that. So to give you an idea, the typical answer rate in a contact center today who has people dialing outbound is about 5%. 5 to 10% on the high end. And that's just that loading a lead list and calling the numbers over and over. When you're using a solution like Regal, that's an extremely personalized outreach and a customizable touch point. So again, we're taking in that data, we're sending a text and a call, we're branding, when we make those phone calls, it's showing my brand saying Regal's calling me right now. We're making those kind of personalized journeys or workflows for everybody that we're contacting. Our answer rate is about 30% on average for our customers. So you're seeing a huge jump of just even getting people on the phone, which can only mean to higher conversions and, again, more revenue. That's the whole goal.
That's a huge difference, obviously. Now, one thing with outbound is compliance is much more stringent than inbound. There's a lot more regulations that kind of tie into outbound. So how does Regal.io help ensure that companies remain compliant with regulations such as TCPA and some of the other ones?
Yeah, no, 100%. We get that question all the time. The difference with Regal, the big thing is TCPA. We have a lot of different, compliance regulations and things that we follow. But, TCPA in general, that's when you go to a website and you see on the bottom, it's like an unsolicited little saying. So saying like, "We won't call you without your permission." So Regal is only working with those types of customers who have, they are TCPA compliant. They are making sure that they've asked for your permission. And it's not just people buying lists and cold calling. We're actually using data and we have those compliance regulations and all of our customers also have them.
Okay, excellent. So, Regal.io kind of introduces itself and pushes itself out there as a solution that really creates that personal touch in this, digital world that seems so impersonal. Tell us a little bit more about kind of the driving force behind, that where this came from. This really is a different approach to connecting with customers. Where'd this come from?
Yeah. I mean, I think, our founder story is a big part of it, but I think that there's more and more in this digital age, post COVID, the way that people buy is very much like I go onto Amazon, I click something, and then I want it immediately. You would think that everything would be so digital and everything would just be automated. But actually at Regal, we found that when it comes to more high intent decisions that you're making in your life, so when you think about getting a mortgage, or insurance policies like a life insurance, or maybe some healthcare providers that you want to see if you qualify for. When it's something that's extremely meaningful with usually a higher price point, it actually does benefit and you close more sales as a contact center sales team when you actually engage with that person over the phone, shockingly. It's not this all automated. It's if I'm going to go apply for a loan on a website and I get tripped up on a question, I might just go to another loan company's website to see if it's easier for me. So what would that difference be if I'm on the website, I have questions, I leave the website, within minutes, within 30 seconds, an agent is contacting me from that same website I was just on saying, hey, Mandi, we saw that you had a couple questions around interest rates and you didn't continue the form. Is that something that we can help you with? Or, that's that speed to lead mentality of, okay, we have the data on the customers. Why aren't we using that data to then engage with them and talk to them and get them on the phone and answer their questions more effectively and efficiently? And when we do things like that, they're going to not only take our calls, but they're probably going to trust our brand more. At the end of the day, when you think of brands like insurance companies in particular, a lot of banking and lending, when it comes down to what they're actually selling, it's pretty similar. Insurance policies at the end of the day are pretty much the same thing, but it's how that brand makes you feel. So when they call my phone, if AAA comes up on my phone and I know that I need to talk to AAA, it's the same thing. If your doctor calls you and you can see it's your doctor's office, I'm going to answer that phone call because there's probably a reason that I need to talk to them versus just some number that I don't know at all. And then if they're using all the data they have about me on the back end, that kind of cuts down on that. Think of that really frustrating workflow of, you're on a website, maybe you chatted the chat bot or you filled out the form. And then when someone does call you and you answer, then you have to pretty much answer all that information all over again. And then if you transfer to someone else, you have to answer it all over again. And it's extremely inefficient. And when it comes to an outbound mentality of we're trying to get you to buy something or sign up with our policies, if you have to keep repeating yourself, that's extremely frustrating. And that's not going to give you a warm and fuzzy about the brand. So it's if I can cut down all that noise and I can customize my conversation with you, Howard, and you, Mandi, and, you, Sarah, versus going through and having a one size fits all model for everyone. That's what we see at Regal is our customers are like, wow, we can black and white drive this much more revenue. It was this much easier to get, our sales reps on the phone with people. That's really what we're doing.
Excellent. That's great. So now as part of your service, of course, you offer expert support for your customers. Tell us a little bit more about the guidance and support that you help to provide to your customers when it comes to their call and text strategies and how to make this actually work for their particular use case.
Yeah. So the Regal solution is actually a very land and expand type of, sales cycle, sales solution. We really work with our customers from day one. Actually, as soon as, we engage and sign contracts with our customers, we go into pretty much that we would highly recommend a pilot period. And we look at all of the solutions that you're looking to engage more with your customers or to drive more revenue or to, drive a higher conversion rate or a higher answer rate. So we start off with like branding the calls or looking to start sending texts and calls. And we do a lot of A/B testing. That's very different than other contact center solutions. They do not offer that ability for you to test. Okay, well, what if I texted first before I made a phone call versus we'll keep all these people the same, we'll just call them. And what if we branded 50% of our numbers versus not branding? What does that look like? So we test out those solutions from day one. And then every customer does have a CSM, a customer success management team, and an implementation team that comes on board. So when we talk about making these customized workflows, or we call them journeys at Regal, of, every agent has the capability to do X, Y, and Z with their customers. We help you build those. We can actually take on that responsibility fully and be the, always build them on the back end so you don't have to do anything. Or we do a lot of like train the trainer.
Okay, great. Now, earlier you mentioned that really you're just focused on outbound. You're not really touching an existing inbound contact center strategy. So if a company has their inbound customer support strategy dialed in with a company like you mentioned, Nice in Contact, Genesis, Five Nines, one of these large and well-established players, do you require any changes or to what they're doing on the inbound side in order to work with Regal.io?
Yeah, no, great question. No, the short answer, no. We have a lot of customers and big names that you probably like SoFi is a great example. Big banking and lending, big digital first bank. They actually keep all of their inbound customer success, customer service team on Nice in Contact. And like I said earlier, they peel off their outbound focus agents. And then those agents live day to day within Regal. So at the end of the day, we all communicate with the same CRM. We're all talking to Salesforce on the back end. But you have, your two teams who are coming in, and your outbound team lives in Regal, your inbound team lives in Nice, and there's really no need for them to go back and forth. So it's not a competitive tool from that aspect at all. It's working alongside of or working with, because that outbound team, if you're a customer, again, in some of these verticals that we've talked about, that has that team, their goals, their KPIs are very, very different. They're how many people can we get to answer the phone? How long are we talking to these people? How many people did we talk to convert into whatever policy or whatever we're trying to sell them? How can we drive revenue? The people who own those teams in your businesses most likely are, the head of sales, a VP of marketing, people who have a revenue number tied to them where they say at the end of the year, we're coming up on the end of this year, okay, I need to do this much in revenue, or I need to drive our revenue up by XYZ percentage. That's their concern. Versus, when you go into the internal, like the inbound customer service and contact center technologies, those are a lot more like cost optimization strategies versus revenue driving. They're more of how can we save money by, decreasing average handle time and reducing talk time. So their metrics are very different.
I see. That definitely is really a unique strategy. So, well, Mandi, thank you very much for your time today. This was really enlightening and really helped hopefully paint the picture of where Regal IO fits into the world of customer experience. And if you out there would like to have any more information or have any conversations with Regal.io, please reach out to myself at NCC Data, reach out to Mandi. We are more than happy to dig into your particular challenges and how this solution, Regal.io, can help drive sales at your company. And again, Mandi, thank you very much for your time. This has been great, and we are looking forward to talking again.
Yeah, thanks, Howard. Thanks, everyone.